So we've got this AI that can read and write pretty much anything. It's incredible. But it also brings up this huge, looming question. Are we at the end of the road for the book? That's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
I mean, think about it. AI can create, it can search, and it can remix text at a speed and scale that no human could ever hope to match. So you have to wonder, have books, our oldest and most reliable technology for knowledge, have they finally met their match?
Okay, but before we can even begin to answer that, we have to get our heads around just how big of a deal this is. A totally new force has entered the world, and it's changing the fundamental way we even think about knowledge.
And look, this isn't just some small software update. We are talking about systems that have basically read everything humanity has ever written. And they're not standing still, they're getting smarter by the day. That's the mountain that books are now up against.
But here's the thing. To figure out if books are obsolete, we first have to agree on what their actual job is. And it turns out they have this incredibly important two-part mission for civilization. So this is where it gets really interesting. Books have two vital jobs that almost seem to contradict each other. On the one hand, they act like our collective memory, right? They stop us from sliding backwards, so we don't have to keep reinventing fire. But on the other hand, they're our engine for progress. They are the place where we can challenge old ideas and forge brand new ones. The philosopher Robert Pirsig had a great name for that first job: static quality. The best way to picture it is like a ratchet. Every time we learn something new, click, the ratchet locks it in place, so society can't slide backward. It preserves our gains. But just holding on to what we know isn't enough, is it? Society can't just stand still. So that second job is what Pirsig called dynamic quality. This is the engine, the creative spark, the forward driving force that pushes us to question everything and come up with genuinely new stuff. You need both. One without the other, and you either get stagnation or total chaos. And this quote from the physicist David Deutsch just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly explains how that engine of progress actually works. See, knowledge isn't just one aha moment. It's a constant cycle. Somebody proposes a wild new idea, that's the conjecture, and then everybody else tries to poke holes in it. That's the criticism. And books? Well, they are the perfect arena for this battle of ideas to play out. Okay, so we've got our framework: static quality, which preserves knowledge, and dynamic quality, which creates it. So how does AI stack up? Well, on static quality, holding on to what we know, AI is obviously superhuman. But what about dynamic quality? Can it actually create new knowledge? Let's take a look at the map. Here's a really helpful way to think about it. Imagine all of human knowledge is a giant, ever-expanding map. AI is absolutely brilliant at working inside the territory we've already charted. It can find faster routes, spot hidden connections, and fill in all the little details. But the real question, the one that really matters, is this: can it actually expand the borders of the map itself? All right, let's look at the evidence. How is AI really doing in the world of science? Well, take AlphaFold. It's a revolution. It predicts how proteins fold with unbelievable accuracy. But here's the catch. It doesn't give us a new theory of why they fold that way. It's an incredible prediction machine, but not an explanation machine. Then you've got Google's Fun Search. Wow, it found new answers to some really tough math problems. But it did it by just grinding through millions of options. Brute force, basically, not by actually understanding the problem's deep structure. And the AI co-scientist? It did amazing work reproducing a hypothesis, but a human team had already come up with it. The AI just got there way, way faster. So you start to see the pattern here, right? AI is a phenomenal, world-changing tool for filling in the map we already have. It can color in all the counties and draw all the roads with superhuman speed. But so far, it hasn't discovered a single new continent. It hasn't given us a new, fundamental explanation of how the world works. Which, of course, leads to the big question: why? With all that computing power and access to all of our data, why hasn't an AI given us the next theory of relativity or a completely new way of looking at economics? Well, it seems to boil down to three fundamental limitations. First, AI has zero contact with actual reality. It reads millions of words about gravity, but it's never dropped an apple and watched it fall. It doesn't get that raw, real-world feedback. Second, AI is a probability engine. It is designed from the ground up to give you the most likely next word, the most plausible answer. But the biggest breakthroughs in history, think Einstein, think Darwin, these were wildly improbable ideas when they first showed up. And third, AI can get stuck in a feedback loop. It starts learning from its own output, and eventually it's just remixing an average of what's already known, creating an echo chamber instead of exploring the unknown. So what does all this point to? It suggests AI's true role is as a catalyst, an incredible accelerator. It can supercharge the process of scientific discovery, but only when it's paired with a creative human mind, someone who's actually asking the weird questions and proposing those wild, improbable ideas in the first place.
And that limitation, that specific gap in what AI can do, brings us full circle, right back to the humble, old-fashioned book. It shows us exactly why books are more essential now than maybe ever before.
David Deutsch puts it perfectly. Knowledge isn't like a file you just copy and paste from one computer to another. When you really read a book, you are actively rebuilding the author's argument, their entire chain of thought inside your own mind. The knowledge itself is what gets replicated, not just the words.
And that is the massive difference between reading a book and just asking an AI for a summary. A summary gives you the conclusion, the final answer. But a book gives you the reasoning. It shows you the work. It gives you the entire argument, which means you can then test it, you can criticize it, and, this is the most important part, you can build on it and improve it. That's how we keep the cycle going.
So here's the real takeaway. A book is not just a container full of facts. It is the artifact, the structured trace of a real human mind wrestling with a hard problem, trying to reach beyond the edges of the map. And that process, that messy, creative, difficult process of genuine human conjecture is the one thing AI cannot, so far, produce. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. The real danger isn't that some new, brilliant idea will be censored or banned. The real danger is much quieter. It's that the very conditions we need to create those ideas, that deep, focused, critical engagement that books demand, might just slowly fade away. So we have to ask ourselves, in our rush for instant answers and total efficiency, are we accidentally trading our ability to draw new maps for the convenience of having the old ones summarized for us?